Welcome, welcome all. Another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. Special guest all the way from Philadelphia, otherwise known as Philly, King Shampz. What's good, baby? How you doing?
Oh, what's good, bro? Glad to be on. Glad that you provided me with the opportunity, man. I'm chilling, man.
All
West
right,
Philly representing, man, in the building.
sounds good. They got some good Philly rappers out there, and you're definitely making moves on the scene. So, for those that that didn't catch everything, but King Shampz, him and I connected on Instagram. We've kind of been talking a little bit back and forth. Checked out some of his music, so definitely wanted to have him as we built our connection. Really have him on the show. King, why don't you tell us a little bit about your early days in hip hop and how you got connected with the culture?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just growing up having a love for music. Me and my brother Azan, who's the co-CEO of the label, and he produced our project on it did that's out now. We just kind of grew up around music, you know what I mean, listening to different genres, whether it was rock, hip hop, R&B. We know like a plethora of music, and we really enjoy and love what we do. And we're from Philly, man. Philly is the home of the spitters. You know what I mean? Like I tell people all the time, the Reverend can drop a 16 on you. The lady that's from the hair salon, she's got maybe 3 CDs and a video coming out. You know what I mean? So when that culture is kind of ingrained in you, so to speak, it's easier for you to love it and pursue it. And we always love the greats. Anytime you start talking about, your Biggies, your Tupacs, your Jays, your Mobb Deeps, your Wu-Tang Clans, your UGKs, your Dr. Dre's, your Snoops, anybody, you know what I mean, that was really doing their thing and putting it down, we're influenced by. And West Philly, where I'm originally from, is the home of gangster rap. Schoolie D is the first guy that
Yes,
made
sir.
gangster. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that, and that comes from West Philly, where we're from. So we feel like, in a way, that we're carrying on tradition for what he laid the groundwork for, and we're just continuing it.
All right. So what would you say is your early days of rapping? Like how did you get started?
Oh man, like around, I've been rapping since I was like 9 or 10. I'm 29 now, so I feel like I'm a vet. You know what I mean? Like just like rapping. I remember we were growing up and we had a karaoke system, and
Sure.
we would record like little cassettes on there of us just like rapping over instrumentals. And at that point in time, when you're like older and you know about studios and all of these different things and recording process, you're like, what the hell were we doing? But it was that love and it was that passion, you know what I'm saying, that we had for it at an early age and trying to make it happen. So I remember listening to, you know, uh, you know, Bad Boy, Rockefeller and Dipset, like growing up. You know what I'm saying? And seeing how impactful they were to the culture and saying, yo, I want to go in here and do something like that. Like I want to go in here and mimic those guys and show that I belong in this rap shit. And yeah, like around 9, 10, 11, really started taking it serious, I think, more in my teenage years when I was about like 17, 18, when I was like, okay, this is something I really want to do. And I think the monumental moment that kind of like pushed me into that realm of thinking of saying I can really make this a possible career and really be great at it is when I saw the Jay-Z Fade to Black DVD. And that changed my life because it was watching a guy of his magnitude being celebrated by all of these different hip hop legends, and people around the world were sharing that experience with him. And that was something that I wanted to go on ahead and do. And that's something that we just started to pursue at an early age.
Pretty dope. Yeah, I know that Fade to Black was definitely something to watch. If any of my listeners, and again, you're listening to Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life, I'm the host, Lionel McDonald, but if you've never watched Fade to Black, it's totally amazing. So, King Shampz, again, really appreciate what you're sharing. But, what would you say, you mentioned Jay-Z just now and some of the early legends, but what would you say are maybe a few or a handful of rappers or artists that really infused or influenced you in your early days? Maybe you can break it
Oh,
down for us.
definitely, definitely Nas. Um, Nas's Illmatic changed my life. Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt changed my life. Um, Listening to when Puff Daddy had dropped what was that? The No Way Out, and then he had dropped another project um with damn, I'm forgetting, the Forever album. The
Okay.
Forever album had a lot of crazy features on there. Listening to both of Biggie's albums, Ready to Die and Life After Death, changed my perspective on music. Doggy Style and The Chronic, you know what I mean? Changed a lot of things. The Fits by Scarface was another album that was big for me. East 99, Bone Thugs and Harmony. That was another album that did it for me. So I listened to, like I said, everything, anything that was dope from any region, you know, I was listening to and banging. Of course, growing up being a huge Kanye West fan, The College Dropout did it. You know, what's another album that I really was listening to? Of course, Enter the 36 Chambers. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Wu-Tang Clan was big. Huge 3 6 Mafia fan. You know what I'm saying? UGK, you know, Pocket Full of Stones, you know, that was big for me. Um, you know, the Screwed Up Click down in Houston, you know, all
Yep.
of the different mixes and stuff that they were putting together was real dope. And then, you know, 50 Cent, huge.
Yep.
Cameron, huge. Like those dudes really like had it rocking at one point in time. And that was more of the era I was growing up in. So I love those guys. I love what 50 Cent brought to the game. I love what Kelly Cam brought to the game. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of those guys sculpted my sound. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
In the way that I rap, the way that I talk, the way I like act on the record. So yeah, those dudes are definitely huge influences for me.
So yeah, it's so interesting. You mentioned so many different people, East Coast, West Coast, obviously huge East Coast, influence, but obviously, some guys from down south when you mentioned UGK and some of the others and Scarface, but Philly is where you're from, right? And West Philly, you've mentioned a couple times now. So, what's the scene like, or what was the scene like growing up, and what is the scene like now? Obviously, we know we've had, lots of rappers from Philly over the years, the early days, from Fresh Prince to Freeway and many others in between. But what was like the influence of the scene in Philly, and what's it like now?
Oh well, you know, like I said, it's ingrained in me, to rap coming from Philly, period. You know, Will Smith is from West Philly. So he's always going to be big on my scale, just off the strength of what he was able to accomplish, not only in music, but in culture. You know what I mean? Like he's an icon that comes exactly from the same streets that we come from.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something great to look up to. Beanie Siegel, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Period. Like Beanie Siegel is from that same era of when you start talking about Dipset and G Unit. State Prop may not have had the same notoriety or I guess publicity as they did. They had a lot of spitters. I grew up watching battle rap. Battle rap was huge growing up. Reed Dollars, Joey Jahad, Meek Mill was a part of that. You know what I mean? Before he blew up and started doing his thing.
Yeah.
Meek Mill. I know you're probably familiar with RJ Payne by now. He was Rain Man back in the day.
Okay.
And we remember watching him. We remember watching him on the DVDs. You know what I'm saying? Like watching him like battle rap and go to different barber shops and on the street. Like the culture was all of that. And I remember engaging in battle rap when I was younger because it was just like, okay, if you rap, you gonna have to battle somebody after a while. You know what I'm saying? You can't just like dodge and act like you're not going to be involved. So Philly, just the culture that we have here of just rapping and rapping and rapping and putting out unbelievable content, that definitely influenced me. You know what I mean? Like I said, like Beanie Siegel, looking at young Reed Dollars, just killing it. Like those were my dudes. Quilly Mills is another dude that was from that era as well. Like that
Mm-hmm.
04, 05, 06 DVD era was very pivotal in the culture. And now, I mean, you look at it, we got a lot of great guys coming out of the city. Shout out to Meek Mill, shout out to Uzi Vert. You know what I mean? These guys that are like huge in the culture, but free Dark Low, free ARAD. Those dudes were dudes that really was like killing on the underground scene. Of course, you got like Benny Pass, Jot Out Mind Tricks, you know what I mean? They're also from Philly. You got a lot of folks. So the Philly scene, is constantly evolving, it's constantly getting better. And it definitely was a big influence for me, man. I mean, it was hard not to get bit by the bug because everybody was rapping. Everybody had a DVD, everybody had a CD. So just that culture aspect of it all definitely influenced me.
Yeah, and I know that for many that's like, 16, 17, 18 years ago. And when we're talking about this 2003, 2004 era, like for those that didn't live through it or were not in their teenage years when, the CDs and the mixtapes and the DVDs were all out. Like it was a whole different time. Like when kind of it was 50 and Kanye were kind of ruling the roost at in those eras, along with Cameron and Dipset and a few others, right? So it was a so different era that we have now. That's a digital era, and it's about streaming versus guys would go hustle in their truck. Guys would sell their CD as they're walking through the mall. It's totally a different time, but you've had some amazing people kind of shape your sound and your music. So let's talk a little bit about your music, right? So I know you've been working on some stuff for several years, and you have multiple projects out. You've been on other projects, but what does it look like when you create a piece of work or a track? Like, what do you go through as a creative process?
Oh man, that's a great question. Um, when me and my brother, we're blood brothers, same mom, same dad. Me and Azan actually sit down and create and put together this content. It's adulterated focus. We're like focused as hell because those names that I mentioned, all of these guys are hip hop legends. Especially those dudes that are on the Mount Rushmore of things. And we've always been competitive. We've always believed that we were blessed in having the skill set to go about being great. So it's complete focus. It's like, yo, we got to make this record crack. We have to make this record as elite as possible in order for us to gain not only the notoriety and the fame and things that we want to go in and do, but we want to be up there with the best. And to be the best, you got to put that work in. You got to be elite. So we're always looking for new, creative, and innovative ways to put records out that you've never heard before. Whereas like when you hear a Dead Wrong record that comes out, you're like, damn, I haven't really heard a record like this before. I could say it sounds like this and sounds like that and sounds like this, but I've never heard a record that straight up I'm listening to sounds exactly like so-and-so. You know what I mean? Like there's no copycat thing. When you go down the list of the different records that we dropped, most notably Dawn of the Dead right now, it's not an album out that sounds like that. Everybody right now, like everybody else right now is rapping over drumless loops, you know what I mean? Faded kind of samples, or, trying to put together like a lot of trap elements in their music. And what I felt like we were able to do on Dawn of the Dead was capture all elements of what I'm talking about as far as the flashy rap, as far as the gritty rap, as far as the street rap, as far as being able to have accessible records, but still having that element of hip hop in it, where everybody can spit, everybody can rap, but it's catchy. It's something you can get with rather than something that's just kind of drowning out the drums or something that's not pushing the artist forward. So when we're creating and we're in that creative mode, we're thinking about all of those things. And then that's when the creative process really starts to become fun because you're just throwing all kinds of stuff out. You're working, you're like, yo, I'm going to see what's going to go in here and stick. And then you come out with a great product. So when we go in, we're completely focused and we're having fun with it, but we have an ultimate goal, which is being the best.
Gotcha. Okay, some amazing insights because yeah, you definitely feel that there's this gritty, it's so many things. It's not one thing. When I've heard, Dawn of the Dead, and we'll talk about that project in a second, but you definitely have, call it a niche piece, because it doesn't really sound like anything else I've ever heard. So kudos to you guys, and much love and respect. So I think when you talk about getting your music out, people, whether you're trying to get it to, get into the hands of the people, how has the pandemic really impacted, you and your music, and how you've got things out to people? Like, did it cause you to, take a step back or take some time away? Or would you say maybe you kind of really dove into your element? What does it look like from your guys' end?
That's a great question, bro. I feel that we did a little bit of all of the above. And what I mean by that is we were able to take a step back and say, okay, what is our sound going to be? How are we going to go in here and develop our sound to be the best it can be and be as unique as possible, where it can actually get the looks we want? And also grind. During the pandemic, I remember I was doing a interview with Spitfire Hip Hop, and we were talking about how the pandemic, and this is in the height of it, how it was affecting artists and everything. And I said, to be honest, I said Dear on Records at this point in time feels like we're building a dynasty in the pandemic. We feel like we're building something special, because regardless of people's social or financial status, the pandemic, I feel, set everybody back to zero. I feel like it set everybody back to zero in a way. Now, that doesn't mean that, the millionaires got broke or whatever the case may be, but it slowed everything down. So I looked at it as an opportunity to get the word out, put out a great product, be able to push these this product and put it to podcasts, to radio shows, to radio stations, to everything, because I looked at it like, hey, it's no way you're going to ignore me. You're home just like I'm home. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're in the house like I'm in the house right now. So with that being said, I looked at it as an opportunity rather than an obstacle. I didn't look at it as an obstacle in a way a lot of people did, where it's like, oh, it's slowing this down, this and the third. It's like, okay, this is slowing us down right here. But these things we can go in here and build. So when the pandemic is slowing down, when things are starting to open up, we hit the ground running. And we look to take full advantage of the pandemic from that sort of way. So I definitely believe it was all of the above. And we created a lot of opportunities through the pandemic. Dawn of the Dead was recorded during the pandemic. Us gaining a lot of notoriety and really pushing this product and getting hellified write-ups from all over the world was during the pandemic. And now we've got a lot of situations and opportunities where big wigs are watching certain things. We're linking up with top executives now. We're doing a lot of great things because we decided to put that work in during the pandemic. You know what I mean? And we're still in it to a certain extent. So we're still keeping that format for sure.
Yeah, so let's talk about the project, Dawn of the Dead. So, how long did you guys work on it? What's the theory behind it? And what are you hearing, or what's the feedback you guys are getting on the record and the project in general?
Well, Dawn of the Dead, it took us probably, I want to say, about 2 months to complete. About 2 or 3 months to complete, because during the summer, like we were talking before the show, I contracted COVID, me and my brothers or whatever, and it kind of slowed us down. So we was like, damn, well, we kind of got to get ourselves together. We kind of got to go in here and move and get things moving. And we had just, our grandmother had just passed in that August. So we were kind of dealing with the loss of her, and we decided to push through. We said, we're not going to let anything hold us back. We're going to push through, and we're going to make sure that we got dope artists on this album. And we put together an incredible body of work. And we decided to say, hey, you know what? Let's just put this out. Let's see what it does. Let's promote the hell out of it. And let's make sure that we put our best foot forward. And the reasoning behind the name Dawn of the Dead was we feel like we're bringing a new era of hip hop. It's the dawn of a new era, the dawn of the Dead Wrong Records.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt like it was catchy. It still had like that little vampire, kind of feel to it or whatever the case may be. But we wanted to go on ahead and say, okay, um, let's put out a great product. Let's go on ahead and push it. And let's go on ahead and get the responses we need to go on ahead and get. And the responses were fucking amazing.
Oh,
Like people all were saying that they had never heard a project like that before, that it was dope from top to bottom, that the production was different, that the flows were different, that the artists' voices were unique, you know what I mean? And it started opening up a lot of doors for us, you know what I mean? And that's what was really exciting to see, that even through the pandemic, we were able to push through all of the trials and tribulations and really put out a masterpiece in my mind. And a lot of people blogged about it. A lot of people wrote about it. A lot of people were excited about it. And they just were like, yo, if you guys are putting out this kind of work consistently, you guys really are going to be like the dawn of a new era. And I felt like we accomplished that. And this next project that I'm working on now, that's going to be my solo project, Rise of Corleone. That's going to be different. If people love Dawn of the Dead, and when people get a chance to listen to it in its entirety, it's a whole new sound, and that's what we were really excited about. And it really pushed a lot of things forward for us. So I was proud of the project, man.
yeah, good on you guys, and excited to hear the next project. Sounds a little mafia inspired, or at least by the name. You'll have to maybe share, how did you arrive at the title of your new project that you're working on?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're big on that stuff, man. I love all of the mafia movies and things like that. And Corleone is
Scarface,
what we call.
Casino, all them joints.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the whole nine, man.
yeah,
Godfather, because that was where his last name was in the Godfather,
yeah.
Corleone. So our block, we call that, where we grew up at, we call it Corleone.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so the Rise of Corleone, it only made sense where it's like, okay, we're taking our neighborhood to the world. We're taking our way of life to the world. We're taking all of our experiences to the world. So Rise of Corleone is that. And it also kind of derives from, stuff that I like to study as far as like history, from like the Ottoman Empire and, all of these different great, civilizations, where it was like the rise of this or the rise of that. And I wanted to give it an epic feel. I wanted to give it like an epic feel. And I feel that the music is going to mirror that. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, oh, this shit sounds like a movie, or sounds like a good book, or sounds like a good story, or whatever. It's exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's going to be.
So we've talked lots about names, but you're gonna have to tell us, like, how did you get the name King Shampz?
Well, Shampz, it's funny. I always get asked that because it's such a unique name.
It
And you
is.
don't
I've
hear
never
it every day.
heard it referenced before, so you're gonna have to break it down.
Oh yeah. I'm used to it by now, bro. Shampz, like I said, when you come from Philadelphia, everybody knows that it's a heavy Islamic culture.
Okay.
So when you start talking about who I was involved with and the different people that I'm around, Shampz basically means leader or son of God or a king in Arabic. It has about 3 or 4 different descriptions, to be honest. So you can take either one. But it basically is like leader, son of God, or king in Arabic. And I just wanted to go on ahead and put a king in front of it because that's what I felt. You know what I mean? I wanted to just go on ahead and put that there and have more of a regal kind of sounding name. Like when you hear it, it sounds different, and I feel like it has power behind it. Like King Shampz, it's like it's a king coming in to the room. Yeah. I always loved the book, The Prince and the Pauper.
Mm-hmm.
And I always looked at stuff like that because my mom had me read all kinds of books growing up. So I always was big on like kings and queens and all of those different things in history. So I was like, why not I create my own name? and have it sound regal but different, where it's like if you hear King Shampz, you know it's me. You
Yeah,
know it's
there's
not
no two ways
anybody
about it.
else. So that's basically the background of the name and what I was going for. I
Okay.
wanted something regal and official. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely got it there, right? So so if we as we kind of transition, you mentioned some early artists, from, around the way or that influenced, like who would be your top five? And I think that's a hip hop question that kind of goes without saying, I think you can tell a lot about a person or where they've been or who they've been influenced if you hear their top five. So who would be in your top five?
Big, Hove, Nas, um, I'm going to throw Pac in there. And then
Okay.
at five, I always switch. But I think my most consistent five I probably ever had would have to be Rakim and
Okay.
Cool G Rap as far as 1A and 1B.
Yeah,
Because
we'll give you a pass there. You can have six.
okay,
Yeah,
cool. Because
yeah. It's tough
I'm like, yo,
to say now, taking one and not the other now. So it's so hard.
it is, especially those guys, because I feel like those guys that I mentioned beforehand were heavily influenced by both of those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it would be hard for me to leave those guys out. I
Yeah.
couldn't leave a Cool G Rap out or a Rakim out because it's like, well, they kind of like, if you listen to Nas's earlier records, he sounded like Cool G Rap. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like hard to like not knock him out of the box. And
Yeah.
then the thing is too, I have multiple top fives. Like I got my top five rappers, and I got my guys that I feel like just bring something different, which I call wave.
Okay.
That's what I call like as a different kind of wave. Like I'm a big 50 Cent dude. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So 50 is going to be in there for me. I'm not sure if you heard of like Max B from
Yep.
Dipset, but
Yep.
Max B was big for me. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like certain dudes, so I have like certain lists, but if somebody told me like, okay, Shampz, right now, give me five, that would have to be the five I give you for sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So as we talk about top fives and just influences, but I think also listening. So I think it's a very interesting question from the perspective of an artist. Do you listen to other artists from your neighborhood or your area, or do you really focus on strictly your own music and you're trying to not be influenced by anyone else's sound? What does that look like from your perspective?
That's a great question. Because you have to answer it honestly. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just like run away from them anywhere. There's no wiggle room from that. I feel that we all are influenced by our environments. We're all influenced by, certain things that happen in our lives, certain things that we've experienced, certain things that we've heard. So of course, my environment is going to dictate my sound.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is a wild city. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows that by now, I think. So when you start talking about all of the different things that you experience day in and day out, your music is going to dictate that. And then on top of that, you're going to have artists that actually emulate the same things. When you start talking about a dark, low, and an Arab, as you can see, those guys got crazy years right now because
Mm-hmm.
they actually were living what they were rapping about. And in Philly, unfortunately, that's been a problem for us, is that all of the things that are being rapped about in the records, a lot of the guys are doing or still involved
Yeah.
in. You know what I'm saying? So of course the music that's here locally is going to influence you. You know what I mean? To spit like gangster shit and rap aggressively, like that's just a Philly thing.
Yeah.
You know, but you also have to look at it where you have to be able to say, yo, I'm my own man. I'm my own artist. I can't go off of what everybody else is doing because now I'm not going to sound like myself.
Yeah.
So it's a real thin line, I feel, that we all toe as artists from not sounding too much like our cities, but sounding like our cities, but also sounding like our true selves and what we're trying to portray and convey on records? So that's a great question, because a lot of people will just delve all into the local rap scene, and it's the local rap scene. Like, don't you want to be world renowned? Don't you want to
Yeah.
be on the top? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of guys, I feel, limit themselves by just keeping themselves in like a little box, you know, as far as hip hop is concerned, where it's like, I'm just going to rap just like the rest of the other guys locally and not really create my own sound.
Yeah,
So it's crazy, man.
it is, and clearly you're doing it. You're in your own lane because you're definitely doing it differently than others, right? So let's talk about the Dead Raw Records and call it the label that you have. So, are there other artists? Are you looking for new artists? Like, what is the process behind the label? I think, the world has kind of evolved so much, and now people are doing it on their own versus doing it through a major label. We know major labels can be almost like a loan to a certain extent, because they give you an advance and you got to go produce the music. But then, how things break down from there, some guys don't really get their fair end of the stick. But many artists now are doing it independently. That's kind of the trend, or kind of how music has evolved. So tell us about the label. What's going
Oh
down
yeah,
with
absolutely.
your record label?
Absolutely. Dead Raw Records consists of me, King Shampz, Azan, he raps and produces, Frio, Black, Ra, and then we have a lot of other different people we're bringing in. Just added my man Let Me Be Quan. Just added my man Ace Montana to the fold. These guys are dope MCs that are going to be bringing a lot of great content to the label. And we're always collaborating with other dope artists and bringing them in and building a certain platform where we want independent artists that are dope to win. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of culture that Dead Wrong is building. We're always looking for new artists and new producers, from all over the world. I'm constantly taking submissions from all over the world of different people that want to kind of go in here and be down with what we're doing and what we're building. And we've really just been kind of handpicking the right guys and girls for what we're doing. And we're not only doing hip hop, but we're looking to battle the major conglomerates with artists of our own, not only in hip hop, but R&B, but in rock, but in reggae, but in every genre of music, where it's like, oh, we're like a major label without the major label. We have all
Mhm.
of these different things and components that go in here and push the culture forward and actually give talented people a look. Because as we see now, a lot of these different major labels are going more for gimmicks rather than talent. And what we're building at Dead Wrong Records is a culture where it's like, hey, these guys are on our label. These guys are going to get pushed, and these guys are going to have complete autonomy of their creative process to do what you do best. You're a dope rapper, you're a dope singer. Guess what? We're just going to go in here and give you the platform. We're going to give you the keys, and we're going to all push together, and it helps everybody. The more the merrier. The teamwork makes the dream work. So with Dead Wrong Records this year, we're planning on dropping 8 to 10 projects.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I mentioned Master P, but Master P showed you how to dominate an era. Whether you
Facts.
agree with his musical taste or whatever the case may be, he showed you marketing one-on-one, which is called Flood the Block. Push this shit. This is my product. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we got 40 albums out this motherfucker. So we legit are taking that same format and making sure we've got all of these talented individuals, because it's almost like these talented individuals are almost on the island of misfit toys or something. Like, they're just sitting away from the mainstream, sitting away from these different platforms. And we want to change that at Dead Wrong.
Yeah.
We view ourselves as a hospital, where you can come to Dead Wrong Records, you know what I mean, as an artist that may have been sick of the bullshit, sick of the lies, sick of the games, and you become well and you start to do well and you start to excel. So that's what we're building here at Dead Wrong Records, is we're cultivating that kind of culture. So those are some of the artists. We're always looking for new artists, and we're always looking for people to collaborate with to build the best music and product possible.
Okay, so that's really really amazing to hear that you're going into so many different facets, and there's such a process to get on board as you guys are moving through and moving forward, right? So I know you've been quite a bit on. I kind of checked you out before we did our interview, and I know that you've been on the podcast scene quite a bit, and you've done different interviews. So, from your perspective, how has that helped you kind of get the word out? Hopefully this episode when we share it definitely helps to get the word out for yourself. But what does it look like from your perspective?
From my perspective, you always want to go in here and get media done. You always want to go in here and get interviews done, whether it's podcasts and radio stations, radio interviews, a lot of different opportunities. You know what I mean? You have to get out here and push your product, because this is the thing. Podcasts have followings.
Yeah,
Radio stations have followings. Blogs, vlogs have followings. And it's always dope to collaborate with other content creators, because the thing is, I've got a following myself and we're helping each other build. So I
yeah,
feel
no
like
doubt.
it's always a good thing where it's like, hey, I get on your platform, I promote the hell out of it, because me and you did an interview. I'm gonna go to your people, you can go to my people and send links to the stuff like, hey, I just was on a show, or hey, I just had this guy on the show that you like. Check out some more of my stuff, and build with the people naturally. And I feel like it organically builds a base for you,
Yeah,
because these people have heard you on these podcasts and you start approaching them. I do it every time I'm on a podcast or a radio interview. I'm like, hey, I'm King Shampz. I got my label Dead Wrong Records. I saw that you like the post or whatever the case may be. Hey, check me out. This is
yeah,
what's going on. Send it to the people directly, and then let them hear the music for themselves and judge on their own. Now, trust me, every time I sent something out or whatever the case may be, it may not have been everybody's cup of tea. But one thing I can guarantee is out of 100%, 85% to 90% have been positive reviews. And these people have turned over into great supporters and fans of what we're doing. So I feel like doing this kind of media and
yeah,
interviews are extremely important, because
yeah,
it builds up your resume, not only for content, but it also makes you more comfortable in interviews. And you also can gain new fans from the podcast, where it's like, hey, come back on. The more my platform builds, I can show you love, and we're showing love to each other. So I think that is a big thing for the artist as well as the content creator.
no doubt, no doubt. And again, much appreciated to have you on. So, yeah, I never really asked this question as we kind of, are in the home stretch of our interview today. But would you want to spit something? You want to give us
Yeah,
a
I
few
mean,
bars of what you've done and or what you're working on? Would love
oh
to hear
yeah, for
something.
sure. For sure. I was ready for this part, bro.
Okay, all right.
I was ready. I'm actually gonna spit a little verse that people can hear on Dawn of the Dead. It's actually the first track after the intro. So I'm gonna spit a little of the verse. Let me get my voice together. Um, Rolex, baby. I like the flex, baby. I'm up next, baby. So one dress, lady. Maseratis and man Ferraris, so it's such a scene. They ain't never seen a nigga like Shampz. I get the cream, I'm not green to no fiend. We all vets, we carry Texas the murder team. Niggas know that I'm about that. The set don't do chit chat. Get your shit pushed back, get played with my stacks is like that. Pro ball to the amateurs. Kilo after kilo, while my people got the stamina. Read to work up Canada, ship the guns off to Panama. Strapped up in the Maybach, you roll up on me, I damage you. You took the wrong route. This life will turn you out. G's hold it down, the real never get out. Niggas do it for clout. I did it so I could sprout. Heard by young boy getting money down south. That ain't just word of mouth. We killing it in the drought. We ain't timid. We run the scrimmage, the crew balling out. Ain't that what it's all about? It ain't hard to find us. Hurting all they pockets, we flooding, they re-up. Niggas cop the Porsche, I'm fitting the speed up. Fuck the baddest bitches, niggas can't ease up. Wrists on frigid, give digits of white dust. So me gets no limit to hot for niggas to touch. Like a little
Yes,
something,
sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
just
sir.
some bars, man. My
Yeah,
throat, like I
we're
said,
just
my
gonna call
throat
this
is
the
killing
segment called bars. That's what we're calling it from now on, straight up and down. So yeah. So again, as we really appreciate you sharing with us, and if there's any final words, I know you said you got some big things. I think maybe even the last question that I have for you is, you know, in our current state with, you know, it's still kind of semi-pandemic or whatever, like, are you guys planning to go on the road, do any shows? Like, how do you think you can continue to propel and continue to get the word out?
I think everything is really being dictated. Excuse me. Everything is being dictated by the pandemic right now. Certain countries and certain cities, as you well know, are starting to open up. Certain are starting to switch restrictions by the day. So the more I feel that it's more of a grip or a handle on things, the more we can go in here and start running around and doing shows, putting together a tour, putting together a European tour, and really running around. Also putting together a Canadian tour as well. You know what I mean? Hitting Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, all the different spots, and really coming up there and showing up and showing out. So we're definitely looking to go in here and book the shows. But like I said, we've been a little bit hesitant because of the pandemic. But
No doubt.
yeah, like certain countries are shutting down. You know what I mean? And putting their countries back up. It's just been crazy. So as soon as it's more of a handle on things, we'll be able to start moving around. But as far as content goes, we can control with the content. We can drop a bunch of music videos, freestyle videos, all of those different things. So we're really going to go in here and push ourselves to the next level and propel the music to where it needs to be, for sure.
All right, so that's amazing to see, and definitely, I think once you decide to hit Toronto, you will definitely see me there. You'll have to keep me, abreast of what moves you guys are making. Hopefully things get better. Hopefully we can just, it's year 3 of this pandemic right now, so hopefully we can get past it and get back to the life that we were once living. Although things in the world are just different. But King Shampz, much appreciated you being on, showing out, giving us some bars to definitely check out again. Dawn of the Dead. Things sound differently a cappella, so I have to go back and listen to that track again. So much appreciated, much love, brother. Wish you all the best, and continue on your journey of a new era hip hop as you're currently on right now. But thank you, listeners, for listening to Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life here with King Shampz out of West Philly. Much appreciated. We'll check you on the next episode. Peace.
Yes, sir.